Hey again, historians. This is 35b. What are the Dead Sea Scrolls? What did the shepherd boy find? Well, dating the scrolls, they date to the 3rd century before Christ. And those of you who really know a lot about the Bible, you may know that there is a period of 400 years of history in between the Old Testament and the New Testament. It's called the intertestamental period. I took a whole class in college on it. Very interesting. God seemed to be silent to the remnant of the Jewish people who were waiting for Messiah. And the prophets weren't giving any more prophecies. And these people had retreated. The Essenes had retreated to the caves around Qumran and were transcribing the Old Testament scriptures, the prophecies, Isaiah's prophecies, Genesis, everything. And they kept doing this until the early 1st century AD. So they kept doing it until about perhaps the time of John the Baptist. And it's interesting, John the Baptist, if he did, as some historians think, interact with this Essene community, it's very possible that some of them came to know Jesus as Messiah. And when we come to know Jesus as Messiah, we don't have to lose our Jewishness. We don't have to lose the Old Testament scriptures. They become even more important and even more meaningful than ever. Well, when the Romans began to take over the province of Judea, and when they burned the temple and destroyed Jerusalem, everyone was fleeing away. They were fleeing to the hills. They were leaving the area. They were once again being exiled to many regions around the world, going to Eastern Europe and other places. And these scrolls were carefully hidden, like a time capsule, to be discovered. I bet that the people who were transcribing the scriptures never would have guessed that they would not be found for 2,000 years. This is one of the most fascinating, most important finds in all of history, one of the most important archaeological finds for a scroll to be found 2,000 years later. What languages are they transcribed in? 80% of the scrolls are transcribed written in Hebrew. 15% in Aramaic. That's the language, the common language that Jesus and his disciples would speak, and he would speak to his family when they were speaking to each other, and that the Marys would speak to each other. And then the rest, a small percentage in Greek, which was the business language of the day, kind of the international language of the day. What were the scrolls' materials? A lot were parchment, some papyrus, one on copper, and this is according to the Israel Antiquities Authority. Now, they include fragments of every book of the Hebrew Bible. That's every book in the Old Testament, except the book of Esther. That's pretty complete. And notably, the Isaiah manuscript is almost a complete book of Isaiah. Now, what is the significance of this? Well, some people are like, oh, well, the Bible has changed over time because it was written down a really long time ago. So when we look at the Dead Sea Scrolls, some of them written in the BC before Christ, written down when you date those parchments. And I mean, these are historians who are not Christians, are not Jewish, not believing in God. They're dating them to these dates, and they compare them to the scriptures that we read today. You would expect probably there to be an understandable amount of variance over that period of time in the languages and everything. They are more than 99% the same. And there are no significant thematic differences. Maybe the spelling, like how British spell color with the U and Americans spell it without the U, that kind of thing, where you still know exactly what you're reading. They are the same as the scriptures we read today. So they were put in a time capsule, and it's like a test. Let's compare it to see if our scriptures stay the same over time, miraculously, because it really is a miracle. Normally, texts change a little bit more than that. They haven't changed at all. God has his hand all over this. And Isaiah prophesies about crucifixion, that the Messiah will be pierced, that he will be led away. He talks in several details about crucifixion, and this is 400 years before. Isaiah writes about it 400 years before the Romans are using it. That's when the scroll is written down. That scroll is dated 3rd century BC. Isaiah himself writes about it 1,000 years before Rome. So he can only prophesy that this is how Messiah is going to die, because no one's being